Right, guys, one of our most important ones here, Mary Queen of Scots, and the plots covers so much of key topic 2. Do not neglect it. So if you're going to watch one of these videos, you watch this one. Before I start, I promised one of my little year 9s I'd give a shout out to him. So, Stanger, there you are. Where's my badge? There you are. Credit if you know which season this Liverpool top was from. Right, onwards to this. Sorry, that was a bit cringe. Doesn't matter, yous are all going soon anyway. Right, so let's begin. Who was Mary Queen of Scots? Well, you need to be, again, on the ball with the links between Mary and Elizabeth, because remember, Mary is Elizabeth's cousin, and this gives her a rival claim to the throne. Let's get into Mary herself. So you don't need to know too much about Mary pre-1569, other than you know, a bit of context. So Mary is she's part French. So her mother is Mary of Guise. The Guise family, very powerful French family. And she's the daughter of James V of Scotland. So she's the Queen of Scotland very early on, but she doesn't really stay there at all. As soon as she's old enough, she's sent off to marry the Dauphin of France, Francis II. Basically puts her in a position to be both Queen of France and Queen of Scotland, which is dangerous for England. Now, when she's in France with Francis, her mother, Mary of Guise, and the French soldiers basically control the country as Catholics. But in 1559, the Protestant lords start rebelling in Scotland, and Elizabeth actually supports them. She supports them primarily because it benefits her to have friendly Protestant lords in Scotland. Is really important for Elizabeth. Have a quick look at the timeline. I am going to go through it in a bit more detail, but that just sets the scene and where we're at. Right, so Treaty of Edinburgh. Well, basically, when Elizabeth's supporting the Protestants win and they kick the French out of Scotland, and this is signed. Very importantly, it is the Protestant lords who sign it. Mary Queen of Scots doesn't get anywhere near it. Yeah, so this is just recapping what I've already said. Yeah, so Elizabeth getting involved. Right, so this is what I want to add to you. So the treaty basically, what does it do? It says that Mary Queen of Scots would give up her claim to the English throne. Very important there. Now, Mary always said, well, I didn't sign it, so it doesn't count. Okay, but the Protestant lords had signed it. So when Mary's husband died, when Francis died, Mary returns to Scotland. But again, Protestants are in control, and remember, Mary Queen of Scots is Catholic. Again, Mary never approved of the treaty. She maintained her claim to the throne of England and constantly wrote to Elizabeth to say, you need to name the heir. But Elizabeth would not name her heir because basically choosing Mary would divide the realm. As England is predominantly Protestant and Mary is Catholic. Right, so again, a little bit of the sad backstory here of Mary Queen of Scots. You know, there is the Hollywood film. It has inaccuracies in it. Remember, Mary and Elizabeth never met. So Mary, she initially marries a man called Lord Darnley, who gives her a son, which is who will become James the Sixth and James the First of England. But the relationship doesn't really work out. Darnley's murdered under suspicious circumstances. His rival, Lord Bothwell, is kind of blamed, and Mary then marries Lord Bothwell very quickly afterwards. So the lords are outraged. They're like, "This is you must have been involved with it. This must have been like a lover's plot." You know, when you look at the records, you know, you can't say for sure how much Mary felt about Bothwell. I mean, people think as well, there's strong arguments to suggest Bothwell actually forced himself upon Mary and kidnapped her, and as soon as he'd kind of raped her, she had to marry him. So a bit of a dark kind of part of Mary's life there. But anyway, the Protestant lords rebel. Mary and Bothwell fight and lose. Mary basically runs to England to Elizabeth, her cousin, to help, and Elizabeth puts her in jail. The Protestant lords put young James on the throne. Basically, they can control him, but James is raised Protestant. So Mary basically kicked out of Scotland here. Right. So Elizabeth, that's setting the scene for our plots really. By 1568, Elizabeth's facing all these issues. You know, the Dutch revolt, which I'll do a full video on. That's heavy, but you've got the English Catholics, which are a problem. Mary Queen of Scots is a big problem. Remember, the legitimate Catholic alternative. Spain, that ever-present looming threat, the most powerful country in the world at this point. So Elizabeth's got an issue. She also had a bit of an issue with what to do with Mary. She has her. Does she kill her? Does she give it to the Protestant lords in Scotland? Does she send her to France? Difficult decisions. All right. So yeah, there's London, and here's the north. You can guess what we're thinking of here: the Northern Earls Revolt. This is going to be our first plot. Now, generally, when Protestant comes to England, it starts in the south because it's coming in through the trading routes, and starts spreading south to north. So in the north, there's still a lot of Catholic kind of presence. So this is why Westmoreland and Northumberland, the Northern Earls, get increasingly unhappy because they're Catholics, prominent Catholics. They're also getting a bit disappointed and angry that all Elizabeth's favourites, like Dudley, are Protestant. So they kind of want to change this, and this discontent will erupt. Right, so again, a few factors. Earls, again, wanted Catholicism. They'd lost power and influence at court, like I said, because Elizabeth favoured the Protestants. Elizabeth also refused to name an heir or marry and have a child, so people were unsure about what's going to happen to England after she dies. Remember, it always makes people nervous when you don't know who's going to succeed, because quite often leads to fighting and war. And Mary Queen of Scots is in England, a nice ready-made Catholic alternative to free and replace Elizabeth. So, what's the plan? Well, the plan basically was the Earls of Westmoreland to raise rebel forces, take Durham, march south, join Duke of Norfolk. Spanish troops are going to land in Hartlepool to support the rebel forces. Norfolk and the rebel forces will seize control of the government, overthrow Elizabeth. Any resistance will be stamped out by the Spanish, and Mary Queen of Scots will be freed, married to Duke of Norfolk, and they'd live happily ever after in a new Catholic England. But it doesn't work out, does it? No, because Elizabeth is stronger than they anticipated. She really shows her steel here. So this is just a little bit of a graphic you can follow and look at how it actually plans out. The Earls do end up taking Durham, and basically holding Catholic Mass in the Durham Cathedral. Again, what happens with Elizabeth? She's able to raise troops quite quickly, and crush the rebels. So she really responds with force, executing Catholics. The Earls flee, and she moves Mary's prison. Right, why was this so significant? Well, it was the first serious rebellious act by Catholics. Remember, we've had the Puritan challenge early on, and the Catholics were kind of sitting quiet. And then this happens. This is huge because there's troops on the ground here. This is a real act of rebellion. treason laws start to become harsher, because there's a recognition that the Catholics are dangerous. Percy and Neville families in the north, these are, you know, if you like medieval history, these are hugely powerful families that are influential, especially if you like your Shakespeare, even though he ruins a lot of actual history. You'll see the Percy family, especially with Henry IV, the play for Shakespeare, and the Neville family with the Wars of the Roses. So they're hugely important and powerful families. Their power's kind of broken. Harsher treatment of Catholics, so again, more suppression. And this is important, she executes the rebels, showing how serious she is, but also upsetting the Pope. The Papal Bull, really important. This, I'll go on to explain in the next slide, but the Papal Bull and the excommunication of Elizabeth really is a major factor in leading up to increased Catholic aggressiveness against Elizabeth. Right, so the Papal Bull. Well, basically, this kicks Elizabeth and England out of the Catholic Church. You might be thinking, well, so what? She's queen, she's head of her church. Why is that a problem? Well, it puts English Catholics in a difficult position. Do they follow their queen and potentially be damned to hell by the Pope? Or do they follow the Pope and rebel against their queen and potentially risk being killed or executed for treason? So it really kind of sets them up. Again, a direct order from the Pope. This is basically to test their loyalty. A lot of doubt and insecurity around the Catholics at this point in England, and also, very importantly, it kind of gives people like Philip and other Catholic leaders, it gives them permission to invade and attack England. You might be asking, well, could they not just do it anyway? Yes, they could, but you know, you needed casus belli, so this is like a just war. You needed a just reason to invade, and generally Catholic leaders would need to seek permission from their head of church, which is the Pope, to attack. And this Papal Bull, this excommunication, is a real signal to other Catholics: destroy them. You have permission to destroy them. So really is important in that build up to what will eventually be the Armada as well. Right, Ridolfi plot, our second one. First of all, very importantly, the Ridolfi plot is a year after the Papal Bull. It shows that straight away Catholics are responding to this excommunication to try and get rid of Elizabeth. So, Ridolfi, an Italian banker from Florence living in England, he was a spy of the Pope. He basically arranges a plot to murder Elizabeth, launch a Spanish invasion, put Mary Queen of Scots on the throne, that should be, and marry her to the Duke of Norfolk. So in 1571, Ridolfi goes to the Pope with a signed letter from Norfolk, who declared he would be Catholic and would lead the rebellion if Philip supported him. However, Cecil uncovers it, and he has evidence to call for Norfolk's execution. And he is in 1572. So that goes another powerful lord, the Duke of Norfolk. He's killed, and he was Elizabeth's cousin from Anne Boleyn's side, the Howard family. Mary, though, escapes execution in the same way as 69. Elizabeth refuses to kill her. I mean, her lords, her government is telling her, you need to get rid of this woman. She's a threat to you, and people still will keep trying to kill you, replace you with replace you with Mary, but no. Right, so again, significance, very quickly after the Papal Bull, reinforce the Spanish threat. Elizabeth starts to look to France to be like, right, I need to buddy up and make friends with them to balance the power against Spain. Right, just a few things on laws, because we don't focus too much on it, but it is important. You never know if you'll get something like this, and it's good to kind of good evidence to boost up your any paragraph regarding Catholic threat or Catholic discontent. So basically, for Catholics to keep the Catholic religion alive in England at this time, they would have priests would kind of be smuggled into England, basically from 1574. They were undercover. They were normally protected by powerful Catholic families, and they had things like priest holes. These were like hidden rooms in the house where they would celebrate mass, which was really dangerous because, you know, people like Cecil and Walsingham, so Walsingham's on the scene from 1573, are actively hunting them and being watched. So basically, if you're caught doing this, if you're caught delivering a Catholic mass, you'd be hung, drawn, and quartered, which is a brutal execution method that links to treason. So these are the priest holes, but then 2 laws are passed by Parliament in 1581 against Catholics. So recusants are now fined £20. So you can use this in significance to Rodolphi because it does come after it. You can make the link, but it's also the increased pressure on Catholics, and anyone who attempts to convert or someone to Catholicism, they basically would be tried for treason. So stricter, more aggressive laws. Just don't neglect these. I think sometimes they can be neglected a little bit. I haven't focused on them much in class. I think only during one lesson, but a lot of you will overlook this. Just be aware of these laws. Increased pressure against Catholics. Right, Throckmorton, 1583. Well, this was planned by French Duke of Guise. Those of you who are listening and not using this to go to sleep might recall that the Guise family are Mary Queen of Scots family, and the Duke of Guise is quite powerful. So he's Mary Queen of Scots' cousin. Plan to invade England, overthrow Elizabeth, free Mary, restore Catholicism. Similar kind of theme. Philip would then back it, and Francis Throckmorton, an English Catholic, would act as a go-between with Mary. The Pope gives it the big thumbs up. Remember, he's excommunicated England, and Elizabeth, he wants her gone. Walsingham, though, discovers it. Throckmorton is arrested and executed. Okay, why is this significant? Well, Catholic sympathisers are found. Basically, in England, there's this whole fear of the enemy within. There's a crackdown on Catholics. 11,000 were kept under house arrest. Another Act of Parliament is then signed in 85, basically meaning that anyone helping, sheltering Catholic priests would be executed. And it shows the potential threat of Spain and France forming an alliance, which would be Elizabeth's worst nightmare. And those who have already done their revision will know in 84 you get the Treaty of Joinville, which is France and Spain promising to defend themselves against Protestantism. So again, see how all these things connect. Then we get Babington, 1586, Babington, right. So very similar to Throckmorton, you got the Duke of Guise involved, 60,000 men, put Mary on the throne, Philip and the Pope give it a big thumbs up. Babington, Catholic, basically has links to the French. He starts writing to Mary regarding this. Now, Mary was closely watched, and Walsingham plays quite a clever game. Even after Throckmorton, he's thinking, right, I need to get rid of Mary Queen of Scots. Elizabeth is refusing to kill her. I need clear evidence. So he monitors. He sees Mary passing these kind of notes, and he's broken the code already. He has the cipher. He knows what they're saying. He's waiting for the perfect bit of evidence so he can get Mary killed, and he finds it. He finds the evidence. He arrests them all. Babington hung, drawn, and quartered. Actually, had a really graphic image of that, but thought not. Probably get YouTube probably ban it. Mary's tried by the Privy Council, found guilty, and sentenced to death. Elizabeth can't save her. She's been found to be complicit in this. So that's all she wrote for Mary. She is going to be shorter by a head. Why is it important? Well, in 85, relations between England and Spain were at an all-time low. Again, those of you who have done your revision will be aware in 85 was the Treaty of Nonsuch, where Elizabeth basically backs the Dutch Protestants officially, which puts them at loggerheads with Spain. So this plot means Elizabeth's situation is more dangerous than ever. The government want to crush the Catholics. It's like something like 300 were arrested in North London alone. 31 priests are executed, so big crackdown on Catholics. Mary Queen of Scots is executed. So this ends the hopes of a Catholic heir to the English throne. Right, Mary Queen of Scots. So I'm going to just talk you through the execution. So she's been involved in plots before, but why is this one important? Well, I should have put this on the slide, so I apologise. So please listen carefully to this. It lies in an act called the Act of Parliament that had been passed in 1585. This is the Act of the Preservation of the Queen's Safety. I'll say that one more time. The Act for the Preservation of the Queen's Safety. So this act stated, in the event of Elizabeth's assassination, Mary Queen of Scots was to be barred from the succession. Also, any action against Mary Queen of Scots should only be taken once a commission has investigated her role in the plot, held a trial and found her guilty. Walsingham had gathered this evidence and found that this was enough to ensure her trial and conviction in October 1586 under the Act for the Preservation of the Queen's Safety. Elizabeth finally, but also reluctantly, signed her death warrant in February 1587. So Walsingham and government kind of set this up. They get it. The Act for the Preservation of the Queen's Safety, again, really designed to combat these plots, and they basically get all they need to get rid of Mary. You know, another reason was, you know, in 1587 it was clear that Philip was going to attack. You know, it was pretty obvious Philip was building ships. He was going to come at him, and you know, there was even rumours that troops had landed in Wales and that Mary had escaped. So basically, this threat of Mary still existing was like, right, we need to kill her, we need to get rid of her. You can argue that, you know, Mary Queen of Scots, the killing of Mary Queen of Scots, really decided that Philip was going to invade the Armada. If you get a question like that, yeah, I think it's clear Philip was going to invade beforehand. But you can say that, you know, Philip certainly used it. He was like, he already had justification. You know, the excommunication of Elizabeth, the Pope had basically been egging him on, like, go on, son, attack her. But you know, Philip then uses this as another casus belli, another reason, another just war to say, you've killed a legitimate Catholic monarch. I'm going to go punish you because I'm Philip II, defender of the faith, defender of Catholics. So if it would be a great question that if you get, you know, a 16 marker, Mary Queen, the execution of Mary Queen of Scots was the main reason for the launching of the Armada. You know, so but I do think Philip had already planned it anyway. He was already going to come and attack Elizabeth. Right, so that was a bit longer, but I do think the plots are always very important. Remember, you need to be knowing this content. Hopefully it helps. You know, I know I can drone on. I do feel a bit weird sitting talking at the screen, but anyway, I'll get up the. What's my plan? I want to get through the Dutch Revolt, Armada, and then we'll get key topic 3, which is education, leisure, the poor and the attitudes, and exploration to Virginia, and then I'll get on with American West. All right, guys. See you later.